Hello, my loves. Today is Pink Taco Tuesday, and we are diving into people pleasing and how it is robbing you of your pleasure, your power, your presence, and your authenticity. It is costing you money, and it is costing you your authenticity, your power, and your pleasure. So let's dive in. I'm going to share with you a practice I've been using for the past 10 years that has helped me really heal a lot of the codependency and people pleasing that I was habituated to from childhood. So we're going to talk about what people pleasing is, why you probably learned how to people please, and I'm going to give you my simple, easy practice of breaking your people pleasing pattern, because this is something that is very common amongst women. And I'm going to give you a lot of scenarios of why this was a pattern and a coping mechanism you probably created in order to feel loved and validated and seen. And at one time it served you, and it's probably not serving you now. In fact, it's probably costing you your own pleasure, your own power, your own authenticity, and we're going to talk all about that. So let's dive in. I'm kind of checking my notes here and make sure I covered everything. So, okay, what is people pleasing? We all do it. If you're human, if you're a woman, you have probably at some point or another people pleased. Whether it's biting your tongue when you want to tell someone how it really is, like when a man is mansplaining to you and you just want to okay, I got it, thanks. But you're being nice and you're kind of biting your tongue. People pleasing can look like being super nice around family just to keep things great to see you, I'm so glad. People pleasing can look like not speaking your truth, not speaking up, surrounding yourself with people that you actually don't feel lit up by. People pleasing can look like staying at jobs that you hate, staying in relationships that are not working or healthy. People pleasing can be not speaking up when a friend is doing or saying something that bothers you, and you're just like, oh, I don't want to hurt the friendship or be confrontational or any of those things, when in reality your honesty and your truth and you speaking up is what creates more truthful, stronger, more intimate relationships, right? When we actually speak our truth and when the person can meet us there and have a conversation. So people pleasing is a form of codependency. People pleasing is a form of manipulation and control, because it's us actually doing something, knowingly doing something in order to get a result that we think we're creating or getting from the people pleasing. People pleasing is on the spectrum of codependency. Most people learned how to people please from a very young age. So if you had emotional neglect, like your parents may have given you everything you ever needed, your parents may have always been around, but they weren't actually emotionally there for you in ways of explaining to you, like when you're mad or upset about something, explaining the why, and this is why we're doing this is why you're in timeout. If they were not actually teaching you and explaining to you and just kind of left you in your emotions, the people pleasing kicks in, because if I don't act up, if I don't be emotional, if I don't get angry, if I don't cry, then this adult human wants to be next to me. So it's this sense of, from a very young age, even babies can learn, if they if they cry and they're not getting fed, the parent just ignores them, they actually learn to stop crying and to try, even in those young ages. So this is something that your lizard brain, the limbic piece of your brain, the reptilian part of your brain, the most ancient part of your brain that controls your unconscious, it's ruled by emotion. When that piece gets activated, we do things to survive. So you did the people pleasing from a young age in order to survive. if it wasn't from a neglectful childhood on some level. And sometimes it takes people some time to hear this because they're like, my childhood was fine. My parents were there. It was just fine. But it's like, but was there connection? Did you feel like you were really seen, heard, and loved by one or both of your parents? And most people, unless you had like really woke parents who, even when they're psychologists, like there's still going to be things later that you'll probably have therapy on. But there's this essence that us as children really need a lot of space holding and love and attention in a way that is comforting and patient and explaining and, you know, having that understanding, because our cognitive brain isn't formed yet. We are our emotions before the age of 8 years old. We don't know how to regulate them. We don't know how to control them. We don't know what they mean. All we know is that we dropped the ice cream and the world has ended, quite literally. And you even see this going into teenage years, right? When everyone's like, oh, my teenagers are so emotional. It's because of the hormones, and they're still learning how to regulate their emotions, and their brain is still developing. Our brains are still developing up until the age of 25 years old. And now that we know that there's neuroplasticity, we can actually still create new pathways and change our brain over time through conscious thoughts and emotions and behaviors and habits. So we see that we are quite pliable in many ways in our emotions and our mindset. So this is good hope for all of us that are people pleasers, that you can change your patterns. You don't have to let it be the thing that gets you into unhealthy relationships, whether that's in personal relationships, intimacy, work, with your clients, with money, with sexuality, with any of these things. So let's dive deeper. You created people pleasing somewhere along the way. Whether it was from not receiving the love that you wanted as a child. I'll use my own experience as an example. Like I said, when I was talking to my grandmother, I had these huge aha moments because my mom, my brother, and I went to live with my grandparents from when I was 6 months old until about 4 years old. And I remember the house. I remember the house that we lived in, but I never remember my mom being there. Every memory I have of being there, I was like, oh, we were visiting, or oh, it was when we were at their house. And she's like, no, you guys lived with us until you were like almost 4 years old. And I don't remember my mom being there. And when we were talking about it, she's like, yeah, your mom worked a lot and she was basically like single and kind of living that life. And it made so much sense to me because I learned how to people please because I adored and I idolized my mother. I wanted to be her. She was just this personality, and she was my mom. And I remember from a very young age, I just wanted her to love me. That's all I ever wanted, was just her to see me and love me for me. But I was always too emotional. I was always too much. I was always like, and this morphed and changed throughout the years over time. But I share this because this people pleasing of when I'm nice and lovable and easy to be around and all of these things, which are naturally also a part of my personality because I feel like I'm that way anyway. But these showed up in ways in relationships later on where it was me seeking the love and validation that I didn't get in the way that I needed it as a child. So I saw this when I would idealize and seek love and validation and attention from men that were not available, not interested. And I would keep trying harder because I'm like, oh, if I try harder, if I'm more perfect, if I'm more nice, if I'm more educated, if I'm more fill in the blank, perfect and physically and all these different things, then I'll finally be loved, right? So this can show up for you in so many different ways. For most people, it's most glaring in intimate relationships later on in life. But this can show up at work as well, where you're always the first one there, the last one to leave. You're always working the most, working the hardest. Wanting, needing the validation from your coworkers, from your boss, from whoever, to be like, oh, you just like, you're the top bitch, you're the boss dog, or whatever the words, the boss bitch and the top dog or whatever at your company. and all of that validation and all the things. And this is what happens to us as successful women, right? You'll see all these beautiful, seemingly perfect, successful women who are running 6, 7 figure, $500,000, $1 million companies, that it's still that game of doing things for the validation, the approval, different things. And it doesn't make it bad, wrong, or right. It's just an awareness around, you can create those things either way. And wouldn't it feel so much better to create those things without it being a seeking of validation or approval, rather because why the fuck not? Because you can, because it's fun, because it gives you gratification to know that you created your purpose, project, or partner, or whatever the thing is. So people pleasing is a problem. And here's why. It robs you of your power and your pleasure. When you are people pleasing, you are actually being manipulative and controlling. This really stung the first time that I heard it because I was like, what? But it's true, and here's why. When you are people pleasing, you know it. When you are people pleasing, you are doing it in order to receive an outcome that you think you can control. This is what stung for me when I first heard it, because I was like, no, I'm just being nice, and like I like being nice. And then it was like, wait, I'm doing this because I want them to like me, or I want them to approve of me, or I want them to accept me, or I want them to get me. And it wasn't actually from, like, of course I genuinely like love people and want to be nice with people and kind, but it was like deeper. There was a lot of situations where at the core, it was me trying to facilitate an experience, like for someone to like me, for someone to approve of me, to someone to validate me. And it was reflecting from me, like just wanting to be loved by my mom, kind of a thing. So it crosses over. It's a pattern. It's a learned behavior. It is something that you can unlearn. So again, when you are doing things to be nice, in order for someone to like you, in order for you to get the job or keep the job, the first check-in is it genuine? Are you doing it from a place of I actually, truly, this lights me up, or am I doing it for an outcome-based result that I think I can control, that I think that I have power over? So I'm going to give you a practice that I've used over the last 10 years that has helped me transform my codependency and people pleasing. And this is something where I'm still working on it. I still have to catch myself when I go into those places where I just want to be loved and taken care of, and like not have to try so hard at life or different things, right? It can show up in so many ways. But people pleasing is really the thing that is killing your pleasure, your power, and your authenticity, because you're doing things that you don't really want to be doing. So it's out of integrity, and you feel that. And over time, it's going to exhaust you. You're going to feel like you're not actually connecting with people. You're going to feel like maybe your relationships aren't even really real or genuine because you're not ever speaking your truth. I've been there before. And or when you do speak your truth, then people don't actually like you. They're like, oh, well, who does she think she is? And like, oh, she thinks she's this way now. It's like, no, I've always been that way. I just didn't say anything. And I've experienced that too. So just getting to see like what you're ready to take on, and knowing that this is a pattern that you can break. So people pleasing is not serving you. It did at one time, right? So if you were a child and you did it to receive love and validation, whether it was from your parents or parental figures or peer groups, you needed that. We all need that as humans. We need love and connection and touch and emotional safety and emotional nurturing to support the growth of a healthy cognitive brain, to help support the growth of healthy, connective, intimate relationships, to where there's normal, natural, healthy communication and emotional integration and expression. And for many of us, that was not the case. I would say for 95% of people, they did not grow up in a home where this was like an active, healthy environment for them. So most of us as women have learned how to people please. This is also indoctrinated into our society, right? We are supposed to, as women, be polite, be nice, be the caregiver, be the one who's everything to everyone but ourselves, to not have boundaries, to not speak up, to not be fierce, to not, it's like we're seen as the slut or the bitch or the crazy person or whatever, when we actually stand in our power, because it makes other people uncomfortable. So this is a piece where people pleasers, and this was myself, I was totally fine being uncomfortable myself, making myself uncomfortable in order to make everyone else around me comfortable. I wouldn't say anything. I would just be, trying to be the peacemaker or whatever. And it made me uncomfortable, but everyone else around me was fine. This also shows up in codependency, and that is where people pleasing is tied into codependency, and it is a form of trying to control a situation, but it's to your detriment. So it's not serving you. It's not keeping you in your power. And in this group, we are all about getting you into your pleasure, your power, and really getting into your freedom of you being fully expressed in yourself, in your sexuality, in your finances. And so cutting the people pleasing is going to be a key component to you stepping into your truth, stepping into your power, stepping into your pleasure, getting to be in relationships where you're actually liked for you and you have people investing in you for you, versus the nice version of who they think you are, who you are presenting, who is a part of you, but it may not be the most authentic, and it's coming from a wounded place of needing the validation, the connection, the different things, versus from an empowered place where you're in relationship because it's a give and receive, and this person likes that you speak up and let them know your truth and or call them out on their stuff. I only have friends that will be honest with me. I only have friends that will tell me straight up, this hurt me, or this is how you're, the way in which you're being is affecting me this way. I used to stay in friendships and relationships where people wouldn't tell me. They would talk about it to other people, but they wouldn't actually tell me what was going on for them. And so I would go in, it would kick in this cycle of me people pleasing and trying to get their validation, but they were always arm's length because they, weren't speaking their truth. And it was just this crazy cycle. And that was in my teenage and early 20 years where it was just not working. So let's dive in to how you can cut out the people pleasing and really get back into your authority, your truth, and start healing the codependency that is people pleasing. First and foremost is awareness. And the biggest piece of this is noticing where you are grasping for love, connection, or validation. So as humans, it is natural for us to want connection. It's just innately human. You are a normal functioning human if you want connection with other humans. However, if you are seeking connection in order to receive validation, in the sense of an unhealthy, if this person loves me, then I'll be happy. If I can feel the connection, then I'll fill in the blank. So this is different. This is more of a grasping feeling, or that urge, that hunger, that yearning, that it feels insatiable. It's that when you're codependent in a relationship and it's just I just want to be around this person all the time, but when they're not here, it's anxiety and are they ever going to come back? Are they going to call me again? What if they decide to break up with me kind of feeling? So that grasping or chasing or yearning, I'll never have as much as I need, that feeling, whether it's in love, intimacy, validation at work, money in the bank, wherever that's showing up for you, where it's just this hunger that is from a place that doesn't feel like it will ever fill up, that is a cue to you. It's a trigger cue to you to be pause and noticing where you're grasping, chasing, going after. I've done a lot of work on this, and I noticed it came up for me in my business. where I felt like I was chasing clients. If I just prove to them how hard I've worked and how much I've done and how much like how I can help them and how all that, like then and just like trying and reaching and trying, and it was driving me crazy, and it was coming from a place of not enoughness, right? The people pleasing comes from a place of it will never fill up. It's from that empty well. It's from that. It's not even an empty well. It's like a vortex well that just sucks. It's like a vacuum drain. And that's not from you being plugged into your power, your pleasure, and your authority. It's you seeking that source to fill you up from something outside of you, whether it's a relationship, work, money, relationships, whatever, sex, whatever the drugs, alcohol, food, whatever the thing is, it's like, this is finally gonna be the thing that fills me. So first and foremost, notice when you're coming from that, like, I need to be satiated, sucky, graspy, chasey, like yearning that's never gonna be really yours. You can't really have it. When you notice that feeling in your chest and your body, where it's like, it's almost like a succubus kind of feeling, just notice it without being like, oh no, this is the thing, this is horrible. Just being like, oh, that's what this thing is. This is my people pleasing, my codependency, like the thing that's trying to get, it's even some people can call it your pain body. It's the part of you that like needs your love and attention. So when you notice that feeling, you get to ask yourself, okay, you can like hold your body, hand to heart, hand to belly. What do I actually need in this moment? And go a layer at a time deeper and just keep asking yourself, what is it that I'm actually needing in this moment? What is it that I actually need in this moment? What is it that I'm actually wanting? What do I need validation for? What do I need love from? And just keep asking, what is this? Where is this coming from? What is at the core of this? What is it that I'm actually seeking? More often than not, you'll come to a place where you're like, I just want to feel seen. I just want to feel loved. I just want to feel heard. I just want someone to recognize me for how hard I've worked, or to acknowledge or witness what I've done or what I've transformed or what I've become. Once you get to that core thing, it will always come down to being seen, heard, loved, witnessed, validated, held, or connection. It will always come down to one of those things. And when you get to that core, the third step is then give it to yourself. Give it to yourself in the way that no one else could or can. Because at one point in your life, it wasn't given to you when it was essential, when it was needed. However, that time is past. It's in the past. And all you have now is you being able to parent and love and comfort and validate and see and all those things for yourself. So if you needed connection and you're just like, yeah, but connection, there needs to be another human. You are connecting to you. There's a relationship here. And usually what happens in codependency and people pleasing is that relationship was broken. You weren't taught how to be in relationship with that part of yourself. So even if at first it feels weird and like, I'm like talking to myself, it's like, if it helps you to imagine your inner child, your younger self, whether you're holding her inside of you or even outside of you, you can place her in your hands in front of you and just be like, the connection piece, if that's holding your body or hugging yourself and just connecting in that way and just being like, I see you, I love you, I'm here. And just telling yourself, I am here. I'm here for you. I see you. I'm connecting. What do you need from me to feel connected? So when you get into this piece of giving it to yourself, it's like, baby, what do you need? Queen, what do you need right now? What can I give you that no one else can, that no one else could? And I'm like getting chills because I know how powerful this practice has been for me. And I know that I've had resistance to this practice because I was angry, and I still sometimes can get like, where I'm like, yeah, but that was someone else's job to give that to me and they didn't do it. And getting in that like blame or shame around that. And that will continue the cycle. And when you notice that, love on it. Just notice like you have every right to be angry. You have every right to process through where you were neglected or victimized or abused or different things. It's not to invalidate or bypass those. But this is a piece where you take your own power back, where now you are the adult and you get to treat you the way in which you were not treated. So let me repeat that. You get to treat you the ways in which you were not treated. So you get to be the loving parent. You get to be the one that validates you. You get to be the one that loves the fuck out of you when no one else can or would or whatever. You get to validate, witness, hear, hold, see, love you. And when you start that connection and that rehabilitation, that is when healing happens. You heal the relationship with your inner child, and it pretty much dissipates people pleasing in a matter of seconds. When you, I will use all you single ladies out there, when you are in a toxic relationship, a codependent relationship, in one where you're idealizing and wanting the love from the guy that's just not available or not interested, and you're in that place of wanting to text him, wanting to reach out, wanting to connect, that's that graspy piece. And that's where you can use this practice of acknowledging, like, oh, I am seeking connection, love, whatever, from this human it's not reciprocated. What is it that I need in this moment? Oh, I just really want to feel loved. Baby, how can I help you do that? How can I love you? What do you need right now? And talk with yourself. You might get, your inner child might be like, I just want to fucking dance. Like, or like, I actually really want to call my grandma and talk to her and connect with a family member or someone that is a healthy relationship. You might get some weird stuff like, I want to fucking hula hoop, whatever. Like, you follow that, trust that, and just know that that's like a younger part of yourself that you just freed, that you just let her out of a cage that she had been locked in. Because what happens is we recreate the dynamics of relationships that we experience in childhood. You do this in your intimacy, you do this at work, you do this with your money. So if you are looking at your bank account in that, like, or going after money, like, I need money to validate and to feel safe and to feel loved and to feel all the things, especially when you look at your bank account and it triggers all this emotion, you can actually use this to be like, what is it about the money and like making more or not having enough or the thing that I'm actually really needing in this moment? It's usually feeling safe or to feel pleasure or both. And when we don't have that grounding or that foundation within ourselves, we are constantly addicted to grasping at, yearning for things outside of us because we're trying to fill the vacuum void that is us trying to plug into source outside of ourselves instead of inside. So when you start to tap into your own connection, your own love, your own witnessing, and you do that for yourself first, it changes the dynamics of how you are in relationship to others, to sex, to money, because it turns into a reciprocal, mutual relationship with other people versus you trying to control, take from, manipulate. And a lot of this is unconscious, right? It's not like you're going through your day like, oh, I'm codependent and I'm doing this because I'm seeking love. But it's an opportunity to notice where when you get into those graspy, chasey feelings and that people pleasing, to where you can use this practice to ground back into yourself and then take action. And then go to connect with other people and then go look at your bank account, right? So this is a really powerful practice. This has been hugely transformational and healing for me in my own life, and noticing where I still have that. It's very deeply ingrained pattern to outsource my source. It's trying to find the plug-in outside of myself versus within. So I'll repeat this again. When you notice that you are starting to people please, chase, grasp, seek validation outside, or trying to be nice in order for other people to like you or get you, whatever, pause, press pause, and notice. oh, I'm doing this thing. This is what, oh, I feel it. Like, notice where you feel it in your body. Be like, fuck, this is like so, like, oh, I feel so icky and gross and like clingy or whatever the thing is. And then ask yourself, what is it that I actually want and need in this moment? What is it that I actually need? Is it validation? Because if I'm always seeking it from someone else, it's never, that void is never going to fill up. How can I validate myself? How can I tell myself, like, you did such a fucking great job. This is fucking amazing. Done is better than perfect. It gets to be messy. Like, I'm so proud of you for what you've accomplished and what you're doing. Like, talking to yourself in that way. And then the third is to move into giving it to yourself. So this is that, what I just said, like those affirmations, or if you need to go hula hoop, or if you need connection and you just need to have that moment with your inner child where it's inside, or holding her in your hands and just being like, I see you, I love you, I'm here for you, like what, like how can I connect with you more? And having that conversation, and maybe it'll feel a little weird at first, but I promise you, if you take 10 minutes to do this, whenever you get into that people-pleasing mode, it will help you start to shift that dynamic to where you can start healing the codependency and the people-pleasing. I meant to come on and do a short video, and here we are 30 minutes later. But I know this will serve you today. This has been such a powerful practice for me in really changing my inner dynamics around abandonment and people-pleasing and codependency and all of those things that happen when you've experienced trauma, especially at young ages. And let's be real, we're all women. We are in a patriarch where we've been indoctrinated into people-pleasing and being nice and pretty and blah, 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 and all the things to our detriment, where we are not in our power, we're not in our pleasure, we're doing things we don't want to fucking do because we think we have to, because we think we have to do all the things for everyone else but ourselves. And so this is an opportunity for you to use this practice to heal and start healing. And if you want to dive super deep on money specifically, around how you are in a codependent or funky, dysfunctional, fucked up relationship with money, I have a masterclass that starts tomorrow. It's 3 days long. We are going to be diving into the psychosomatic, the emotional elements to help you heal your relationship to money with pleasure. It's going to be super deep. It's going to be building upon what I just talked about today. So if this is something where you're like really, like this is where your healing path is leading you, join me. Click on the link in my bio if you're on Instagram. If you're on Facebook, I'll drop the link in the comments below. But I wanted to share this with you today and invite you to that masterclass, because it will help you start healing your relationship to money, so that even when or if you have no money or you're a millionaire, it actually changes the dynamics of the relationship you're having with money, so that you can enjoy it and make more, and from a place of pleasure and safety. So big love, and I'll see you soon.